Hi, Sean. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. If you look at the stat sheet from the defense, there's a lot of like eye-popping numbers from yesterday. I mean, you guys did a great job up front. On the back end, obviously Taylor stepping in and Christian Benford with a big game. Terrell Bernard, like you look at his name and not a lot jumps out, but I remember one play in particular. I think it was a second down. Ed and Jordan were coming onto the field a little bit late, and were kind of got positioned really quickly. And it was the Taylor wrap tackle for a loss. And Terrell moved him over, screamed out the communication, got him into the right gap. And that ends up opening things up for Taylor. Can you take us into what you've seen from Terrell Bernard and how important some of that pre-snap stuff has been for the success of your defense?
Right. I mean, that's part of the job description of a middle linebacker, and that's why that job is so all-encompassing, if you will, and it's so why it's so challenging for a young player, a rookie, or in this case, a second-year player to come in and handle all of that, in addition to just handling their responsibilities in terms of the plays that they're supposed to make and being where they're supposed to be. Right. So they have to know how to handle and orchestrate the whole defense, and that's what you saw yesterday, in particular on that play.
Mm-hmm. And then flipping it over to the offensive side, I mean, you have a 4 game sample size with Joe running the show over there. 30 plus points in 3 games, and maybe could have scored that many against Kansas City if a couple things go right. What have you seen from him that's allowed him to take over midseason and have this thing humming the way that it has?
Well, I just think there's just a different energy, more than anything. Plays are plays, as I've said before. How we're running those plays, that's a little bit different also. So I think that's really where it starts. Is just a different energy overall.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey Sean. You guys have been very good in December and January over the past few years. I know the team changes here and there every season, but what has made you guys, from your perspective, so good come crunch time?
That's a great question. I feel like schedule wise, we try and make sure that the guys have a schedule that's conducive for them playing their best down the stretch. You know, I think probably more than anything too, it's very dialed in this time of year. Not that they're not normally, but I think most teams this time of year are very dialed in, and then just fundamentally continue to improve every week. I think that's, hey, you take a step. This past week, next week we need to take another step, and just continuing to make that your goal every week is to improve.
And can you evaluate the performance of Taron Johnson yesterday? Seemed like he had a quality performance after dealing with some injury during the week.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. He was very effective in the slot, made some tackles in the run game, made some plays on the ball, and I think CD was in there in the slot sometimes. Probably 50% of the time, roughly. Don't go by my analytics on that, but I thought Taylor was very effective in that.
And finally, Leonard Floyd, Ed Oliver mentioned his savviness and how that's allowed him to really affect the quarterback this year, and I'm sure in the past. Have you seen that rub off on some of the other guys, just his savviness in the pass rush and just overall experience?
I would agree with that. Flo's been a good addition. He's he's not the biggest guy, but he's tough. He's as tough as they come. He plays the run. He plays the pass. Um, he's been a good addition to our team. I mean, he's got the right mindset. He plays every week. Um, I'm just grateful for him, really.
All right, thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean, just brought up Leonard, and I was actually going to ask you about Ed. So, they were praising each other after the game yesterday, but what have you seen from Ed this year that has kind of really unlocked this next level of play that he's kind of unleashed?
Yeah, maturity. I think that's in one word. Not that he wasn't mature before, but not just maturing on a personal level, maturing as a football player, building his awareness of how he gets blocked, of how offenses play in the NFL week to week, and how sometimes that can change. Sometimes they copy, what happened the week before, even. So I think his just development, his maturity, He's really becoming a true pro in his preparation. So I couldn't be more pleased with the way he's performed this year.
I know it was something you alluded to a couple weeks ago. I don't remember exactly what week it was, but is there any update on Daquan Jones and a potential return for him? Is that still something that is possible?
Well, he continues to improve. Really where we're at right now is just continue to take it one day at a time and seeing where it goes.
All right, cool. And I missed the Windows screensaver this week, so maybe you get it next week.
Yeah, we took a lot of heat about that, so we shifted to the other end of the office here, and so I don't want to get details for Derek's sake, but yeah, we took a lot of heat on it. He did, at least.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Coach, good afternoon. Mookie Hawkins, Well Force Sports 1080. Victory Monday again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mookie, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Coach. Now that you to watch film, just care to talk about how well that the coverage and rush intertwined to keep Dallas timing off sync there.
Yeah, I mean, they worked well together. There was great symmetry between the two. There was, when you look at the film, there wasn't a lot of areas to throw windows into open receivers. It was rather tight, and then the rush was able to affect him at the key moments and within the down there. So it was good to see.
Absolutely, Coach. And, you've been having some good success on the offensive side the past 4 weeks. Just care to talk about how Mike Shula, veteran, leadership has been instrumental in that change. How has that helped?
Well, Mike's to your point, he is very experienced. He's played the position. He's been a coordinator, before, as well as a head coach. And I think Mike's experience, allows him to be very calm. And I think that's valued by offensive coaches, offensive players, and in particular quarterbacks.
Absolutely, Coach. And your running game was just bar none, just all three of the guys, was quite serviceable. But Ty Johnson did get nicked up a little bit. Will that open the door for potential Leonard Fournette in the coming weeks?
We'll see. We'll see where it goes. We need to continue to evaluate Ty this week and see how he does. And but it's good knowing that Lenny's around, and I think Lenny's gotten better every week since he's been here, and he's been a good addition to our team.
Absolutely, Coach. Have a great week.
All right, you too. Thanks, Mookie.
Hey, Sean.
Hi, John.
Bless you, John Worrell. Speaking of injuries, any updates on Jordan Phillips, Micah Hyde, and Epinesa?
Yeah, so AJ and Micah are both improving. And then Jordan Phillips underwent wrist surgery last night. And so he'll be out at this point. We'll see we'll call it week to week at this point, and then we'll know more as we move here in the next couple of days.
Gotcha. That's tougher on Jordan. Going to your running game, and how far do you think, just having the mere threat of what you guys have showed over the past few weeks, and especially yesterday, have a chance to opening up your offense, and where was this running game before?
The running game was here. It's just, it's all a matter of blending the run and the pass. And I thought Joe did a great job yesterday sticking with it, as I said after the game. And the offensive line stayed with it too. I mean, to continue to do it throughout the course of the game, I think was really their mindset last night. And it was good symmetry between Joe as a play caller and the offensive group as a whole, and the offensive coaches, Coach Cromer, all the coaches really with their commitment to staying with the run.
And how much do you think this might, just the mere threat of it, might have a chance to open up your offense, moving forward?
Well, it can. Yeah, I mean, if we handle it the right way, it can, and it's all a big, a part of the overall plan, and trying to be a two-dimensional offense, and the threat of that, I think is important, especially this time of year.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Coach, you guys will be on a short week this week as you're getting ready to face the Chargers. What do you have to be ready for when you're facing an interim head coach in his first game?
Yeah, there'll be some unknowns as you go into the game, and in particular the first game, right? That's it's always tough, always a challenge. And then somewhat of a newer quarterback on top of that with very little film. So it'll be a challenge. That I'm sure they'll be fired up, and we've got to travel out west, and so on a short week, as you said. So it'll be an important week for us here.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach McDermott, Pat Freeman from the Buffalo Criterion. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, Pat. How are you?
I'm good. I asked you a question yesterday in the press conference about the Deion Dawkins block. I know you've seen it on film. It's hard to see from the field. Is that the type of play that exemplifies what you have preached here since your arrival?
Well, like I said, finishing plays, man, is so important, right? It's not the play necessarily is what's important, is how you run the play and how you run the plays. So I think that's just a great example to me of players taking pride in how they do things, and the coach is doing a great job of coaching it and emphasizing it, because as a coach, as you know, a lot of times you get what you emphasize, and if you don't emphasize it, it's hard to get it right. So just extremely proud of the way the coaches have coached this season, and the players and how they followed through on the message.
Last question to you, Coach. With you announcing the surgery to Jordan Phillips, have you discussed any moves with Brandon Beane at this point?
Have we discussed? I'm sorry.
About any moves, bringing somebody in this week as far as replacing him on the roster?
We're looking at that. Brandon's currently looking at that. So nothing right now, but something could take place over the next couple of days potentially.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Sure thing.
Hey, Sean, Josh Reed here. Thanks for taking some time this afternoon. You guys did a great job the secondary did a great job against CD Lamb, and you go back the entire season, whether it was Mike Evans or even a couple of weeks ago with Travis Kelce, you haven't let the other team's number one wide receivers, Jamar Chase is another one, just completely wreck a game. What goes into that as a secondary, and kind of maybe focusing a little bit on, hey, if the other team's going to beat us, it can't be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, we've faced a number of them this year. We'll face another one this week, and in terms of accounting for a large portion of the Chargers offense and Keenan Allen. So a lot of respect for him. I just think it's overall the plan. I think it's the execution of the plan by the players and the coaches, and just being intentional about it. If you allow a number one player or number one receiver in this case to have a day, it's hard to win. And we see that on our side with Steph, right? And if he goes off, it's now you're dealing with a double-headed situation there, the two-headed monster. So you don't want to have to deal with that. So we do the best that we can week to week of managing that production from the number one wide receiver position, at least.
Great. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate your time.
Sure, Josh.
Hey, Sean, AJ here. Hope you're doing well. Early in the game, on the first drive of the game, James Cook had a run. He goes for about 5 yards. Then he gets pushed by everybody else about 7 yards, gets a first down. I feel like it's one thing for that to happen at the goal line, 3rd and 1, something like that. But when you see a play like that, just a regular first down at midfield, what does that kind of tell you about the mentality, the mindset of what you guys are maybe going to have the rest of the game?
Yeah, I think it tells me the guys are there, right? They're there mentally, they're there physically, and they wanted it. And to do that early in the game, to your point, in the middle of the field, you don't see that a lot, especially one that went for as long or as far as that went. And I think that really fired up the crowd and fired up the guys. And that was great to see.
Your offensive line, they've had, a lot of continuity this season. How much do you think that has helped them kind of grow and progress as the season's gone along?
Continuity is important, right? When you play, especially the offensive line, sometimes you're only as good as the sum of the parts, right? And so being able to have everyone on the same page, to see things in a similar way. I think Mitch was talking about this last night in his press conference about making sure they ID things the right way, making sure they're working to the right player in the run game. And even when they weren't, they were all on the same page. As they say, when you're wrong, at least they were all right. Right. So I think that's critical.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Sure.
Yes, good afternoon.
George, I think you went on mute. I lost you here.
Okay, let me go. Here we
There
go.
you
Can
go.
you hear me now?
I got you. Go ahead.
Great. Question is, what is the resurgence with the running game, and why did it seem to take so long this season? It seems like the offensive line is starting to gel now with the running game.
I don't know. I feel like the run game has been with us, rather respectively all season. There's going to be weeks where it doesn't, show up as much, like the passing game yesterday. It's, as an offense, you want to stay with what's working or what they're giving you. You want to take that as much as you can. And so, we'll see where it goes this week. But very rarely do you come out and say, hey, we're going to do X. Because the game's about adjusting as well. So I think that's just as important as anything.
Was this one of those games where you continued to run and seemed like the Cowboys, in this case, your opponent, the Dallas Cowboys, didn't seem to were able to adjust to it throughout the entire game? Is that just one of those oddities that took place?
Yeah, I mean, that's a question for them more so. I thought Joe Brady caught a really good game and the players executed. So that's the piece we could control, at least.